Alright, hello ladies and gentlemen, 49 coming at you with another Dota 2 cast in preparation for the OUSA Dota League Season 1. We're just about to enter a scrim with Team Horsemen of the Apocalypse against Team Blink. I think it's a best of 3, but unfortunately I won't be able to cast the first game. Looks like they're just about to start right now. So from the look of it, I believe it's going to be a best of 3 for all the matches. Alright, hello ladies and gentlemen, 49 coming at you with another Dota. I seem to do this every single time. Alright, just waiting to look into the game right now. So, from last year, I believe Team Blink was the one that won the OUSA tournament last year. They've got a bunch of very talented players. I don't think their roster's changed at all. Team Horsemen of the Apocalypse is made up of an amalgamation of 2 former teams. Jamie, please, we've got Dumbledy as well as Jamie. And we also have Gatskin Killer and UGTFO, who were all on other teams last year. I'm just going to connect my mouse, give me 1 second. So as usual, we have Kin Killer, their mid player, acting as their captain. And he'll be their drafter, and on the dire side, we also have Snow as their captain and drafter. It's a bit unusual. You usually tend to find the support player is the one that's doing the captaining and the drafting, but in these two teams, it seems to be the mid player. Alright, so we've just entered the draft, waiting on the first bands.
Radiant team ban.
So it looks like Radiant have the first ban. And they go for an Ember Spirit first ban. This is a very interesting ban considering that King Killer is actually very good with the hero. As well as Horsemen of the Ruckus, they do like picking him a lot because he does have that explosive mid-game potential. It can be thrown especially into the mid lane or into the farmer lane.
10 seconds.
He works really well he works especially well as a safe lane farmer because he can pick up that first 5-10 minutes of farm and then he can carry a team through that mid game utilizing the early phase, early drums. Looks like we've got a few disconnections over on both teams' side. Could be a remake. Looks like okay, it looks like a remake. False alarm. Looks like someone screwed something up. Just gonna wait to join into the lobby again. Alrighty, so we're just waiting to remake the game. I think it's 13 teams have signed up, they're confirmed to be signed up so far for the OUSA Dota League Season 1. And so we'll be having a losers bracket as well as a best of 3. Actually just going to turn off my Steam messages before my friends start spamming me some more. Alrighty, so we're just waiting on the final player over on Team Blink. Also keep in mind, if any of you who are watching are also in teams, feel free to drop me a message either on Steam or on Facebook if you too would like me to cast the games. If you could give me a few hours notice, that would be great, especially if you want me to cast the best of 3. But usually I should be available in a pinch up until about 10 o'clock most nights. Alrighty, it looks like we're on the way for the remake.
I'm not going to be able to hear you, so
My internet's a little bit shaky over my room, so I'm having to relocate over to the living room. Always makes it a bit fun when my flatmates walk by. Okay, and so we're back. We've got the 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse up against Team Blink. It's just a casual, I think it's a best out of 3 scrim. I will be scrimming the first game. And I'll be able to upload the VOD into YouTube once that's done.
Radiant team ban.
So it looks like Radiant first ban, Ember Spirit once again, moving into dire side.
Ban.
So Ember Spirit, as I was saying, right now there seems to be 2 kind of sort of builds for him. You've got either the Rush Battle Fury build, which is the farming build, and the rationale behind that is Slate of Fist. acts as a pseudo Omni Slash, so having the Battle Fury means you can actually cleave a lot of damage onto the opposing team. First ban Slark on the Dire side. Slark is another hero that King Killer is very well known. Or we did cast that game a few days ago where he actually went Dagon to Slark, looks like he was messing around for a bit. Second man on the Invoker as well as the Clockwork, so they're banning out the mid and the off lane. First pick with the Mirana. I believe Dumbledee is an excellent Mirana player. On the Dire side, we've got Nature's Prophet as the first pick, and for the second pick, we've got the Ancient Apparition. Ancient Apparition is currently trending really hard right now because of the fact that his Chilling Touch is extremely powerful, especially in a ranged tri-lane. You throw it out and suddenly all three heroes are hitting about 100 damage each. Means that you, in terms of trading last hits, as well as trading harassment, you do a hell of a lot more damage. Means that if you do happen to have another setup stun or a snare for the Ancient Apparition's Cold Feet, your kill lane just gets dramatically stronger as you're able to output a lot more damage a lot quicker
10 seconds remaining.
with that Chilling Touch. The Invoker ban seems pretty standard. Invokers are pretty common first and second ban lately, especially with the cost of exchange, as it dramatically increases teamfight potential with that Tornado EMP. The major buffs for the Crossworks Invoker that made it so much stronger is the fact that EMP now drains 550 mana and gives you back half the amount of mana you drain per enemy hero. Goes a long way in solving Invoker's early mana problems, especially if he has to cast Invoke rapidly. Also the buff to Ghostwalk, so it actually increases movement speed instead of decreasing it. We've got the Death Prophet pickup over on the 4 Horsemen and the Ruckus. Very strong hero. One of the drawbacks with the Death Prophet, however, is when her ult is down, her teamfight power is drastically reduced. So a lot of teams, they like to poke and prod, force her to pop the ult, and then just back away, wait for the ult to wear around, and then go in for the kill. However, as a mid hero, she has a lot of strong benefits, especially that 4-second Crypt Swarm once maxed out. Really helps her control the lane, she can spam that out. Allows her to harass and to kill, especially. You throw a few hits in, go in with the Crypt Swarm, hit them a few more times, and they back off the tower, you Crypt Swarm again for the kill. A lot of damage. And with the movement speed from the Witchcraft, she is quite tricky to pin down and kill, especially if she goes for the phase boots, and usually they opt to go for Yule's, their first big item. As the Yule Scepter gives her everything she needs, a bit more mana regen, a bit of intelligence so she can throw out more Crypt Swarms, and most importantly the Cyclone, which she could throw up since Exorcism isn't interrupted at all. Third ban over on the OD, he's an excellent counterpick to Death Prophet and almost any intelligence hero in the middle lane. OD has been declining a lot in terms of its popularity. Looks like we've actually got a disconnect over Snow on the Dire side, so we're not too sure what's happening there. Hopefully he'll be able to reconnect in time to go for the next ban. But as you can see from the Dire side, they're banning out mid and offlane heroes predominantly. They're not focusing on the tri-lane at all. And so this could be a bit of an issue, especially if Blink decides to pick up the Visage. As Visage has an extreme amount of killing power in the tri-lane, and especially with the Ancient Apparition with that Chilling Touch. The extra damage from the Chilling Touch means that it's easier to get up, build those charges for the Soul Assumption. And it looks like we've got the third ban on the Lycanthrope. So it looks like Blink is aiming to shut down pushing heroes and teamfights. So far they've banned out Slark, which is a strong solo mid hero they can throw out. Can also operate in the off lane or in the tri-lane. Very flexible hero, has a lot of early game power, and especially with the recent change to his Shadow Dance. If he picks up a BKB, he's essentially unstoppable in those team fights. Can jump on the back line, take out the support heroes, use that pounce to lock key heroes in position, and deal a lot of damage. The Invoker ban is to shut down their team fight, especially in conjunction with the Mirana, as the Mirana ulti acts as a free global smoke. The Tornado can set up the arrow, and the Ice Wall can just enable the Mirana to kite whoever the hell's chasing her. For the fourth ban, we're probably going to be looking, especially with the Nature's Prophet, they might want to ban out more mid or tri-lane heroes, as they know that the Nature's Prophet will most likely be in the off-lane. He could also jungle if he absolutely has to, but with his power as an off-lane hero, Nature's Prophet, they know that they're in for a split push, so they're banning out the Pugner. Pugner's another excellent hero. Lately in comp scene games, you don't see him much in the mid position anymore, more so in the tri-lane. And that's because that Nether Ward is absolutely crippling to go up against in the mid game, as well as that decrepified damage increase from the 33% magic damage increase to 50% means that even 1 point of that, you throw it out, throw out all your nukes, and it just completely destroys the enemy hero. So Pug in the tri-lane with that Ancient Apparition and say a Visage or even like a Vengeful Spirit can be really dangerous. So aiming to shut that down, especially with high casting heroes such as the Mirana and the Death Prophet, who have a lot of spammable spells that have high mana costs. Mirana in particular, Starstorm at level 4 costs about 190 mana, so if she's eating that Nether Ward damage, can pretty much cut through her HP before she does anything in the fight. Banning out the Shadow Shaman, an excellent tri-lane support hero, and especially with that Mirana, you have to Shackle into Arrow combination. Also means that the they don't have that limited push power again. Since Shadow Shaman can throw out the Serpent Ward in conjunction with the Death Prophet Exorcism, can mean that Shadow Shaman can simply throw out the Serpent Wards to take care of Tier 1 tower. Death Prophet holds onto her ult until they reach Tier 2, so if they're unopposed, they could use it to take out both Tier 1 and Tier 2 and start to deathball. We've got the Weaver and the Lich pickup.
Team pick.
Lich is an excellent hero, but his biggest drawback, and one of the reasons why he's not picked up so much as he should be, is the fact that he offers a lot in terms of the lane, and in terms of team fights, with that sacrifice, with the Frost Blast, and with the Chain Frost. But in terms of ganking, there isn't much he could do. He can't roam that well. I mean, he could roam and throw out a Frost Blast, but unlike the Crystal Maiden, who has the Crystal Nova, which is an extremely high range spell, as well as that Frost Bite, which immobilizes people, Lich doesn't have any of those, so he can't roam, he has to stay in the lane.
5 seconds remaining.
And while he can provide lane dominance, kind of like that, in the same way Warlock can through Fatal Bonds and Shadow Ward,
Reserve time.
he just doesn't have that ganking or roaming power, and that really can cripple him as a hero. He also doesn't have anything to deal with push, which is surprising considering the fact they have a Nature's Prophet. We've got the Nyx Assassin and Weaver pickup. These two are very standard. Weaver can go in the off lane, he can go in the tri lane. He can even go mid in a few cases, although mid lane's usually wasted for him, as he wants to rely on the long length of the lane to utilize the Scoochie to the best of his advantage. Nyx Assassin's fantastic as he could work in the mid lane, off lane, or in the tri lane. And so Blink have a very flexible draft right now. Most likely, we'll probably be seeing the Nyx Assassin mid, as we do have the Weaver and the Ancient Apparition, as well as the third support hero, to go into that tri-lane with the Nature's Prophet in the off-lane. Lion is another support hero that's been seeing a lot more popularity, especially with that change to his Hex, being 2.5 seconds at level 1. Hex isn't one of those few disable spells, it's instant cast, so if you're facing them and you're in range, they're instantly hexed. It means if you have a Blink Dagger, you can hex people before they can BKB. One of the tricks you could do with the line, especially if you have sight on their initiator, say it's a Tidehunter with Ravage and Blink, is if you constantly spam click to hex and spam click stop so you don't move forward, when the Tidehunter blinks in, if you have the Hexer Q casted on him, you'll hex him before, right as he blinks and right before you Ravage. So it's one of those tricks that pro players like to do if you have line of sight of the initiator. Hex is especially powerful against the Weaver, as he relies heavily on the Sakuchi and the time lapse to be able to escape from danger, and Weaver has a short cast point, but Lion's is faster with 0. As well as that, you also have the Mana Drain, which can enable him to do a bit of harassment at lane, throw out the Earth Spike, drain some mana, force the enemy heroes back, and you've got the Finger of Death, which is excellent, especially against the somewhat squishy line that Blake Dota have so far. I mean, out of all of these, Nyx Assassin's probably the one that's going to get the tankiest, or maybe even the Nature's Prophet if he picks up that Necro Book.
10 seconds remaining.
So they have a high amount of burst power, a lot of kill potential coming out. Over on the Radiant side, they've got two forms of hard TC so far. They've got the Mirana and they have the Lion, so they've got Arrow and they have the Impale and the Hex coming out from those two. Death Prophet and the Lich don't have anything in terms of CC, although Lich has a Snare and Death Prophet has raw damage and the Silence. They've got soft CC on their side. For the fifth plan, we've got Doom over in Blink Dota. Doom is an excellent counter to especially heroes like the Weaver, who rely so much on their abilities and their items to escape from danger. Weaver has, I believe, the lowest starting stat pool of any hero in Dota at the moment. I think his total stats is 44. The average hero is about 54 to 56. And it looks like a Zeus 5th pick, so it looks like he'll be going to the middle lane. And it looks like we'll have Ancient Apparition, Nyx Assassin, and Weaver in the tri-lane. And we've got a Wraith King pick up. Really surprising here. So it looks like a Mirana off lane, Death Prophet in the middle, and a tri-lane with Lich, Lion, and the Wraith King. Not too sure what they hope to accomplish with that Wraith King pickup. One of the huge drawbacks of Wraith King is while he does have a very strong early and mid game, with the fact that he has an 8-second guaranteed stun, as well as that Reincarnate, it can be very easily kited, especially against heroes such as the Weaver, who have the Sakuchi to juke away, and especially against the supports on the Dire side, as they have most likely will be building 4-staff on the Ancient Apparition. Nyx Assassin will be going for that Blink, and Zeus will be opting either for the Yule Scepter or for the 4-star. And so moving in right now, just having a quick look at the players. We've got DDY over on the Nature's Prophet going into the off lane, Snow in the middle lane as the Zeus, Yoshi as the 5-position Nyx Assassin, Liger on the Ancient Apparition, and Flash on the Weaver. Ooh, the keyboard's actually screwing out a bit. Okay, we've got UGTFO over on the Mirana, Rafiki on the Lion, Ken Killer over on his Death Prophet, Gat on Lich, and Dumbledee over on the Wraith King. Quelling Blade pickup on the Wraith King. I'm not too sure how I feel about this one, especially as Wraith King is very low armor. for a melee hero, and because he has such a high base attack damage compared to a lot of other melee heroes and a pretty decent animation, you usually do want to pick up that stealth shield, especially when you know you're in for a lot of harassment. However, since it looks like they're not going to be clashing try with that Nature's Prophet, Quelling Blade might choose to be that effective pickup as well. Usually a bit of a clutch item. You don't want to pick it up unless you absolutely have to, as that stealth shield will help you out a lot more in the early to mid game. We're going to be opting for that early Ring of Basilius. We've got a good ward placement over in the Radiant lane. So what the Nature's Prophet's aiming to do, especially with that boots pickup, is he's, instead of aiming to cut off the pull, he's simply going to get vision over. Looks like he screwed up a bit, placed the bit behind the trees, so he's actually used his summon trees to clear out the trees to give him vision. Could be a bit of a tip-off to the Radiant side if they do decide that, these trees are missing, what's happening here. But the rationale behind this is instead of contesting the pull, he simply wants to stay alive with the boots. Nature's Prophet has high mobility. If he could see the support heroes rotating in from the sides, he could back away before they could move in to react. We're going to disconnect over from the Mirana. And we've got a regen rune over in the top lane with creep spawning. Looks like Lich is going to be denying a creep from the middle lane. When it comes to denying creeps, you usually do want to deny that range creep first of all. It does give you less EXP, but the rationale behind it is the range creep is the one that controls creep equilibrium. It deals the most damage. If the range creep is gone and the opposing lane has their range creep, their lane will automatically push forward, so it gives King Killer a huge advantage. Looks like he's going to be picking up a quick null talismans with his gold before going for that bottle. Mirana, with that ward and that Ring of Protection, looks like we'll be going for that Ring of Aquila. Ring of Aquila, with that recent buff, is an extremely cost-effective item. It's the ranged hero's equivalent of a poor man's shield for melee heroes. Gives you everything you need, gives you a lot of cheap stats, and that mana regen, especially on heroes like Mirana and the Weaver, can prove to be quite invaluable. Zeus has been pulled 2 Tango, so it looks like he'll be opting for that quick bottle rush. One of the huge advantages of the Dire side is with that global presence, you have the Nature's Prophet Teleport, the Ancient Apparition Ice Blast, and the Zeus ult. They have a lot of high impact abilities to fly up from anywhere across the map. You've got 2 so-called execution spells with the Zeus Wrath of God, as well as the Ancient Apparition Chilling Blast. If Ancient Apparition decides to pick up an Aghanim Scepter, this effect is magnified as Zeus outputs an extremely high amount of magic damage due to the fact that his static field removes up to 11% of your HP every time he casts a spell. So the longer he's alive in teamfights, the more damage he's able to output out. So that means that even though he is a caster hero with a lot of nukes, he does scale very well into the late game, picks up a lot of items. Most likely we'll be going for that Arcane Boots into a Yule Scepter or a Force Staff, or even both, depending on how he's feeling. And then he'll probably look to pick up that Veil of Discord. Quick pause going on, allowing the Mirana player to reconnect in. And looks like we'll be continuing. So for the Nature's Prophet, this is something we see Bulldog do all the time. Some of the Treants use them to leash back the creep wave, similar to the Lone Druid. Sap as much EXP as possible, get that teleport out so that if ganks do happen, he can jump in. Nature's Prophet differs from every single offlane hero in that regard. That if the tri-lane needs an extra hero to come in and do a bit more damage, maybe throw out the Sprout, he can do that, no worries. Against the Mirana, its effectiveness is limited. They'll have to bait out the leap before they could do that, as she could otherwise leap her way through or eat a tree. Ancient Apparition does have a smoke on him, so it looks like we'll be seeing a lot of mid-rotations. Looks like Yap's hanging around, trying to get vision on the Nature's Prophet. He's zoning him out by doing a bit of harassment. This is an excellent point for a lot of support players, especially in a 3-on-1 situation. Instead of hanging around passively behind the creep wave, you always want to be ahead. You want to zone them out of EXP range, make sure they get absolutely nothing. And with that Lich, they could do that. They could deny creeps as they arrive. They could control the creep equilibrium further. And so long as you don't enable the creep wave to push up to the tower and give the tower that room to clear out the creeps, you can completely starve them EXP. Nature's Prophet's just picked up 2 creeps worth of EXP right now. He's backing off as the Lion moves him for a bit of harassment. He's more afraid of the Lion because the Lion can follow up with the Earth Spike. And if the Lich happens to be around that Frost Blast, they can simply just kite him to death. Slow him down, lock him down, beat on him. Let's look over at the last hits and denies. We've got Wraith King leading at 6 for 3, followed by the Weaver at 6 for 5. King Killer standing there at 3 creeps so far, Zeus with 2. Looks like he'll be relying predominantly on that Arc Lightning spam to be to get CS, as Crobolus has a superior base damage better animation and more range, especially coupled with that Crypt Swarm that she could throw out just as much as he could throw out that Arc Lightning. Crobble is kind of like that Pugner, is really similar in the sense that she doesn't have to rely so much on just right-clicking, she can just spam out that Crypt Swarm, especially with that early bottle. She could afford to throw out as many as she wants to secure creeps, and with that huge AoE and fast speed of the travel speed, she could always guarantee a bit of harassment as well on the enemy hero. Looks like Nature's Prophet has picked up that level 2, with that creep equilibrium shift over in the last few patches. It has made it a lot easier for the offlane, as they are always able to get level 2, and that usually can serve to be the difference between life and death. Mirana has opted to go the same route as that Nature's Prophet. Instead of blocking the creep pool with that shared EXP, she's decided simply to get vision so she could prevent ganks from happening on her with that leap, and with early boots that she'll be picking up soon. Pretty much makes her impossible to gank unless they happen to sneak up on her unawares, say through use of a smoke. King Killer tanking the creeps instead of letting the tower hit them. This is very clever play. Ensures that the creep wave maintains at her side over at the top of the river. Means that because the tower's not hitting them, the creep equilibrium does not push forward. Her creep wave takes just as much damage as the creeps that are coming in. Looks like he's messed up a little bit, but it's given him enough of a lead. The drawback to this, of course, is especially if you're over in the mid lane, can push the wave forward and enable the other mid player to take the rune. Bit of harassment coming out there from the Lich. We'll see if he opts to max out that sacrifice over that Frost Blast. We do see that happen from time to time. Both builds are equally viable, especially with the EXP gain from sacrifice. Mirana going for the 1-1-1, throws out a fishing arrow. Misses, but gives him a bit of vision. Chooses to back off. Looks like King Killer's picked up that bottle. Zeus is choosing to max out that Bolt Lightning. Does a huge amount of damage, also provides vision. Wisely choosing to back off for a little bit. King Killer has the lead in terms of EXP, sending for 14 for 3 compared to Zeus's 13 for 4. He's going to pick up that level 5. With that bottle, he could afford to start throwing out those lightning bolts, do a bit more harassment. But the drawback to Zeus against the Death Prophet is Death Prophet only has to use one ability to both farm and harass with that Crypt Swarm. Zeus has to switch back and forth between using that Arc Lightning to get creeps, as well as that Lightning Bolt to harass, as his animation is very slow, his base attack is very low, and his range is about 300, so similar to that Luna. Very difficult for him to be the controller Wayne. Wraith King goes in for a stun, hits him a few times. One of the biggest drawbacks for the Wraith King is the fact that he's extremely slow, and his stun has a very slow travel time. Uses that Quelling Blade to cut through a tree, and Blind Impale from the line followed up with a Frost Blast. Very well played there by the support players of the Radiant side. Perhaps a bit of a misplay by the Nature's Prophet. He could have simply walked away. He knew he should have checked the Wraith King and seen that he didn't have enough mana to throw out that second stun. Looks like Tommy's actually opted to go for 1 point to stun, 1 point in stats. Actually, he's saving all of his skill points so far. He's only got that 1 point to stun just so he could use it for the CC factor. He doesn't want to increase it. His damage is fairly negligible. Deciding whether or not he wants to go for the aura for that early push, or go for the crit for a bit more damage, or he could even go for the old school Skeleton King builds, which is simply stun and stats. Rely on the stats to give you a bit more mana to throw out another stun, as well as to ensure that you can always reincarnate. Bit of harassment happening over in the Mirana. We'll see if she chooses to opt out the arrow or the Starstorm. Starstorm is usually the better option, as it's 525 magic nuke if you can land both Starstorms on them. Gives you a way to flash farm the wave. Does a high amount of damage, good AoE. The biggest drawback is it's extremely high mana cost. Mirana has she has an alright mana pool, but not enough to be able to constantly throw out Starstorm. And since she will most likely not be going for Arcane Boots or anything along those lines, maxing out Arrow can be a bit more mana efficient. And Arrow does do a lot of damage. 90 damage at level 1 with up to 100 extra magic damage based on the range. Looks like the supports are pinging the creep wave. They see that the tree into leashing the wave around. Not too much they could do there. Dumbledore's picked up boots, and he has about 2.1k sitting in the bank, so he's got a lot of gold. We'll see if he opts for that fast Midas, or if he wants to go for, say, even the phased drums, go for that early fighting build. Double damage rune denied. Looks like the creep's going to eat a impale to the face, and the creep equilibrium is actually drawn far away. Nature's Prophet's a bit afraid to get too close, as he doesn't want to deal with both the impale, the hex, and now the frostbite's coming online with 1 point in the mana drain. Lion can choose to throw out those mana drains from time to time just to harass the Nature's Prophet back, make sure he doesn't have enough mana for that next set of summon trees, or that teleport out. Kingkiller's doing very well in the lane. Looks like in terms of last hits, Tommy's leading the scoreboard to 44 for 11. Weaver's sitting there at 36 for 12. It's kill attempt over on the Marana, but with that leap, Ancient Apparition is completely neutralized as Cold Feet only procs if they're standing in place for long enough for it to trigger. Bit of harassment going on. Bit of an overcommitment there by the Ancient Apparition. Underestimated the amount of damage coming up from the Marana. Looks like a 1-for-1. Looks like an overall win for Team Blink as their Weaver gets a kill on their offlane. And even though he gets a kill on the support hero, they're more than happy to trade that. In terms of gold and EXP difference, we've got 1,000 gold over on the Radiant side. This is purely based on efficiency as well as that first blood. In terms of EXP, 500 EXP leading over into the Radiant side as well. This is once again in terms of efficiency, as that Lich is able to deny creeps and gain EXP from himself by destroying their own creeps, as well as that first blood. Marana's respawned again. Looks like she is opting to max out that Starstorm. Has picked up that Ring of Aquila. Hasn't picked up Boots yet, which is a little bit surprising. And looks like Lion's hanging around in the middle lane looking to go in for a gank. One of the biggest drawbacks with Zeus is he's a very squishy middle lane hero. No escape mechanism. He can output a lot of damage, but beyond that there's no way for him to escape. He doesn't have that high mobility that the Crobolus has. Doesn't have that silence. Looks like they're actually going in the middle lane. Nature's Prophet TP's in. And looks like they might have to throw out the bolt, cancels the TP, kills her. One of the advantages Zeus has over the Death Prophet is Death Prophet has no way to cancel TPs at all. It's another reason why Yule Scepter's excellent first pickup, as it gives her that way to cancel channeling spells such as that TP. Lightning Bolt has a mini stun on cast, which can be used to break teleportation as well as any other channeling abilities. Weaver has picked up that Midas, looks like he's used it once. Tommy has picked up Phase, so it looks like he's going for that early fighting build. We've got the Drum over in the Courier. Phase Drum is a bit of an unconventional build on Skeleton King. We're usually used to seeing him with Treads and something like an Armlet. However, it does provide a lot of benefits, namely in the sense that it gives him a lot of chase power, especially with the snare built into the stun. Looks like he's chosen to max out that Mortal Strike. Bit unusual, but he just wants the stun for the lockdown. He doesn't really care about the damage, cost exactly the same. There's no real scaling beyond damage. He has that reincarnate, so he can choose to dive. Excellent rotation coming up from Team Blink. Cold Feet comes in to cancels the secondary TP, not too sure what's going on there. Third TP comes in, Dumblebees are simply able to walk on out. They can commit to that if they had the Ice Blast, but Ancient Apparition's only level 4, he doesn't have anything like that. Lion throws out an Spike just to say, get the fuck back, you don't know me like that. Zeus hanging around the middle lane, throws out a Lightning Bolt to the Death Prophet. Main form controller. He has picked up the Arcane Boot, so he has a huge amount of mana that he could drop on. Kingkiller taking a lot of damage and actually goes down to the Wrath of Lightning. Another underrated synergy coming out from the Dire side is the fact that they have the Zeus, Wrath of God, as well as the Wrath of Nature coming out from the Nature's Prophet. Looks like Tommy's Reincarnate also goes down, so excellent ult out there from the Zeus player. A few years ago, I remember watching, I think it was Myth Trust, and one of the builds they had a Nature's Prophet as well as the Zeus. They went Aghanim Scepter on both of them and then Refreshers. So the idea was the Zeus would ult, Nature's Prophet would ult immediately right after, as the Zeus ult gave vision, and then Zeus would ult again for the cleanup, and if they happen to still be alive, the secondary Nature's Prophet ult would wipe out the entire team. It was the most bizarre thing I've ever seen, but there is a lot of synergy coming out on the Dire side. High amount of damage, not so much a lockdown. They've got the Cold Feet and they have the Impale, but beyond that they have no form of hard CC. Compared to the Hex that the line has. Looks like Weaver's going to dive into Marana, and Marana might actually... Yeah, Marana goes down. Weaver has that time left. No, he didn't actually have enough mana for that and dies to the tower. Good trade in that case. You've got the offlaner sacrificing himself for the carry. Good follow-up there by Snow to ensure the kill, just in case if that Marana didn't go down. Looks like she would have gone down anyway. The first exorcism of the game is thrown out. Kingkiller chosen to pick up that 1 point in silence in case he needs it. Dumblebee choosing to dive in, but without that reincarnate, he has to be a little bit careful. TP in from the Zeus, goes down, brings down the Lion with that lightning bolt followed by the Arc Lightning. Kingkiller backs away. Ultimate thrown out by the Marana to get them to back away. Ensures the escape. Treants are falling for a bit of vision. Zeus does counteract the Marana ult a little bit by the fact that he can throw out the Bolt Lightning that gives 7 seconds of True Sight vision. Marana ult has about a 3-second fade time at level 1, so it can give her a bit of time. Stun followed by the Frost Blast and the Crypt Swarm, and shows the kill on the Ancient Apparition. He poked his head up a little bit too much. Looks like it's going to be a tier 1 kill for the Radiant side. EXP lead has shifted completely in favor of the Dire side, now at over 2,000 in terms of gold. We're looking pretty even so far. That tower kill really evened up the fact that they have a kill lead. We'll see what items the Wraith King chooses to go for next. Armlet still is a very good item on him, just because of the sheer amount of stats it provides, as well as the high amount of damage. But we'll see if he chooses to go for even an early BKB if he wants to fight against his magic damage heavier lineup. He could choose to go for something like a 4-star, use it to push himself forward, get that point blank stun in the face, back away. Weaver most likely will be going for that Lincoln Spear. He's already picked up the Ring of Health. Great pickup on the Weaver, as unlike the Marana, who can also choose to opt for the Lincoln Spear, it gives him everything he needs, and Weaver already outputs a high amount of damage with that Gemini attack, as well as the Swarm and the Sakuchi. He doesn't necessarily need an immediate damage item, he just needs a way to be able to spam off his spells and stay alive in fights, which Lincoln Spear provides. Misses the last hit there as I'm watching him. Looks like the Death Prophet's picked up that point booster, so instead of going for the Yule Scepter, he will be going for that Bloodstone. I'm actually not too sure how I feel about this. The issue with the Bloodstone is, well, it's an excellent item on the Death Prophet. Until it's finished, it doesn't really offer her all too much. It doesn't give her that intermediary stat that the Yule Scepter does, as Yule Scepter, while it's casted, makes it completely invulnerable. So if she happens to get caught out of position or focus, she could just pop out that Yules, give herself 2.5 seconds for the rest of the team to jump in. Similar to the sense of the Shadow Demon throwing out that disruption. Yoshi sneaking up unawares with that Vendetta. He's got 3 points up, and the Impale chooses to go into the line, coupled with the Nature's Prophet ult and the Wrath of God from the Zeus. Excellent double kill coming out from the Dire side. That's the execution kill power I'm talking about. That was without the Ancient Apparition ulti. If that Ancient Apparition ult was on out as well, Marana would have gone down. Wraith King most likely would have gone down as well. High amount of damage can instantly come out, completely cripples the 4 and 5 position players of the Radiant side, as there's no way that they'll be going to be able to afford a BKB. The damage is going to increase before they could increase their survivability. And without a mech, there's no real way they could get that burst regen off in time to save them without a Chen. Looks like Wraith King is going for that S and Y. It seems to be one of Tommy's favorite items. It gives you a little bit of everything you need, and since it no longer counts as an orb effect and the maim has been increased, it's actually quite a cost-effective pickup. We see the Dire side's placed a ward over in the middle lane, giving vision over at the high ground. This is an excellent ward placement, especially with a hero such as Zeus, as it means that Zeus has an option to bolt the mid player over in the high ground. It looks like Wraith King's caught a bit out of position there, gets caught out by Yoshi as well as Snow. That kill power coming out from the Mana Burn from the Impale, as well as the Lightning Bolt and the Arc. Too much for the Wraith King to handle. Nature's Prophet goes down to the Marana. Looks like an arrow followed by a double Starstorm. Over in the middle lane, Rafiki looks like he's about to go down to Snow. Marana ult is thrown out. Another great play there by the Marana player. Recognizes that the Zeus ult requires vision for it to work. If you're invisible, it actually gets completely disjointed. It looks like he's picked up that Blink Dagger. Excellent pickup on the Zeus, as he uses it right now to disjoint the Wraith King stun. Gives him that mobility, gives him that stopgap measure so he can jump up to your face, bolt you, or if you happen to initiate on him, he can use it to jump away. Zeus is very slow, so it makes up for his primary weakness. And with the fact that it no longer costs mana, ooh, just barely misses the arrow there. Blink Dagger is an excellent pickup on almost any hero in the game. Just gives you that immediate mobility on demand. Means that if you're jumping someone, you can follow up with the rest of your team. If you're getting jumped, if you have time to react, you can jump away. A little bit of harassment coming out. Dumble D with that DD rune, crits down to Zeus. Yoshi runs into the arrow, gets called out by the Crypt Swarm. Great turnaround kill there. Flash doesn't have enough mana to use that. Sakuchi does not have enough mana for time lapse as well. Radiant side can capitalize on this, but chooses not to. Weaver's a bit out of position. He's heading all the way back to base. He's got 2,000 gold, so he can finish his Perseverance, or it looks like he's saving for that ultimate orb. One of the advantages of the Weaver, especially as a carry, is he does not have to build boots at all. He has enough mobility from that Sakuchi that he doesn't need to. Radiant side decide wisely to back off following that AA Ice Blast, as if the Zeus and the Prophet ultis are up, they can use that to immediately insta-kill them. Nature's Prophet doing what he does best with that Raptota, chooses to nibble away at that tier 1 tower in the bottom lane. Might be lowered down to deny range, and with Rafiki there, he can choose to deny it. Yep, he's just pushed it down to deny range, so when that creep wave goes down, they can choose to deny. Nature's Prophet called out, eats a Hellfire Blast to the face, followed up with a Crypt Swarm, and King Killer gets another kill. If he gets his Bloodstone before the, say, the 22-minute mark, he'll be able to use it to start snowballing. That's one of the biggest issues with the Bloodstone. You have to pick it up early, much like that Shadow Blade, you have to snowball off it. If you're unable to pick up a few kills off it, it can be a bit of a wasted investment, as it's about 4,300 gold that could have been spent towards something, 4,675 gold, sorry, that could have been spent towards something else. You could even pick up a Lincoln Sphere for that much gold, you could pick up that mechanism for your team, maybe even go for that Yules. as the mana regeneration is nice, especially on the Death Prophet. That 4-second Crypt Storm throws one out right now. Ancient Apparition's about to go down. Wasted Chain Frost, uses it to secure the kill, but eats that Carapace from Yoshi. Lich does escape. And unless Zeus decides to throw out that ult, he's going to make it home free. Snow doesn't know how low the HP is, decides wisely to hold on to it. Drops that counter ward. Kills off the Observer over in the middle lane. In terms of CS, we've got 89 now for the Wraith King, so he's been maintaining his farm despite going in for a few kills. 82 for 20 over in the Weaver, 71 for 5 over on Kin Killer, and 54 for 7. Zeus doesn't really need that much farm now that he has his Arcane Boots, now that he has his Bottle and his Blink. He can simply run around killing things. He's got enough levels now to output a decent amount of damage. Bit interesting, he's chosen to level up that Arc Swarm. The old school, ooh! Yoshi eats an arrow but drops a Spike Carapace, eats a Wraith Blast as well as the Silence. There's no way he's getting out of that one. Goes down to the Mirana. Great arrows from the Mirana so far. Looks like she's going to go down though to the shatter effect from the Zeus ult. Dumbledee's hanging around, hoping he could deny, but unfortunately can't. Snow decides to snack on up to check on him. Goes a bit too far forward. Actually, Mirana survives that, just barely. Bit of an overcommitment there. Waste of 2 huge ults. Although the Ancient Apparition ult is pretty low priority. It has a 45-second cooldown, so it will be off in a little bit. But it looks like that Hellfire Blast coming out from Dumbledee, he'll be going down. In terms of the golden EXP difference, we've got over 2,000 lead for the Radiant side, so back and forth game so far. Looks like they're starting to turn it around. In terms of EXP, 2,500 for the Dire side, but they're starting to turn that around. Dumbledee gets another kill. Turns out that crit is a bit too strong. He's got enough gold now to finish this SNY. He'll be looking to go for a BKB after that, as it's one of Skeleton King's biggest weaknesses.
For the Radiant.
Looks like they're aiming to go for that push over in the tier 2. Especially with the fact that they have that Crobolus, you have to take as many towers as you can while you can when your team fight is through the roof with that Exorcism up. Otherwise, if you don't snowball up that advantage, there isn't a whole lot you can do there. Yoshi pops that Spike Carapace. Might have to throw out that Vendetta, doesn't throw out the Vendetta, eats a cross blast to the face and dies. DDY TP's in. We've got Weaver hanging around in the background, but with that Reincarnate up, isn't all too much you can do. Good play there from the line, using that mana drain. Eats nice blast to the face, he might go down from the shadow damage there. Snow comes in. Looks like he's going to pick off Gats. With that blink up, there's no way Gats will be able to escape. Pops a dust to get away a bit faster, very clever play. Ensures that if Zeus's ult's up, off cooldown, he can't use it to finish him off. With that Tranquil Boot regeneration, looks like he's fine. Lion survives the shadow effect. Ancient Apparition's been very in the farm, looks like he's picking up all the support items so far. Nyx Assassin's picked up that Arcane Boots, he'll be aiming for that Blink, or Force Staff, depending on what's going on. King Killer drops his Exorcism, looks like he decided to go for that point booster just for the stats. Has picked up the Yule Scepter, great play, drops that Yule Scepter right now, doing damage to all 3 players over on the Radiant side. Uses it to kill the tower. With that Mirana ult, if that Sentry wasn't dropped, he would have gone out there fine. They drop a Sentry. Looks like he'll be going down, but he might be able to take one with him. If he gets one more Crypt Swarm off, he does kill that Nyx Assassin. He gets a bit too close. The way the mechanics work for that Exorcism is the closer you are to the spirits, the more damage they can do, as each time they hit you, they have to return back to the hero before they can launch another attack. And so if you hang around in melee range, you're outputting an extreme amount of physical DPS to them, especially with the recent buff to Death Prophet's damage, raising it to about 53 to 56 instead of 40 to 46 for the spirits, and the high amount of spirits that come out, especially with Max Witchcraft. Outputs a huge amount of damage. You do not want to be standing close to Crobolus when her spirits are flying around. Ooh, a little bit of a lag spike there. We've got SOY picked up on Wraith King. He has chosen to max out his aura after his Mortal Strike. Only wants that 1 point in the Hellfire Blast just for that stun, and that little bit of a slow. Doesn't really need it for the damage, which is fair enough. The damage increases to about 300 over 2 seconds once it's maxed out. It's good, but it's not great. If you can output more damage just by right-clicking them, which Skeleton King does best, might as well stay with that. Lion has picked up a Ring of Regen, so it looks like he'll be opting for that 4-star, what with Gats having picked up a mech. Over on the Dire side, we have lack of a mech on all their supports. This could prove to be that critical factor. Radiant team and a commanding lead right now. If they want to deathball, take more towers. The good thing about the fact that taking these towers, they're giving their entire team about 1,000 gold every time they do. Especially they're giving gold towards the support. They can pick up those early key support items like that 4-star, like that mech. They can continue to deathball, build up more momentum, take more towers. And if they're able to take a few commanding fights against the Dire side, they could use that to break high ground. Looks like the pause is about to be cancelled. Waiting around for a bit. Over on the Dire side, looks like Nature's Prophet has opted to go for the Shadow Blade. as his first big item. Hasn't been having a great game so far. He's died a few times in his position as the offlane player. He's gotten his Midas at a good time, but he hasn't really had much of an opportunity to make good advantage of that. One of the big drawbacks of the Shadow Blade, especially on the Nature's Prophet, is the reason why it's so effective on him is the fact that he could use it to escape as well as to initiate with that low cooldown, but with the increase in cooldown, if you want to split push, you're better off building the Necronomicon, as they'll give you a lot more tower push damage. You can even just teleport into a lane, drop the minions, and then TP back out with a TP scroll. That will give you a lot more split pushing power than the fact of you running around with that Shadow Blade. The one upside to that is it does place that invis tax, and it means on the support heroes they have to pick up dust, they have to pick up sentries, keeps them down, keeps them poor, and makes it slower for them to pick up the key items like that 4-staff on that line. And one of the advantages of the Shadow Blade pickup on the Nature's Prophet is if he does decide to alternate into a carry build with that physical DPS later on in the game, the attack speed as well as the damage that comes out from the Shadow Blade is very handy for that, especially with the attack speed he's already getting from that Midas. You can transition to that DPS role a bit more effectively, but that depends on how long the game goes. As right now, in terms of physical DPS, they've got the Weaver, but beyond that, it's all magic damage based. They've got the physical damage that comes out of the Vendetta, but beyond that, there isn't anything else he could do. He's about to finish his Perseverance. He's about 1,000 gold off. Looks like we're going to smoke gank in from the Radiant side, pushing him through. They scout out the Nyx Assassin, drop a ward off from the high ground. Yoshi pokes out a bit too forward, gets picked off. Had to drop the Chain Toss for that to ensure he would die before he could throw out anything else. Looks like Zeus disconnected during that fight. Arrow flies out, looks like it's going to miss. Snow's forced to retreat. Looks like he's going for that 4-staff as well. So with that blink and that 4-staff, he has a lot of utility and a lot of movement. Functions a lot like a puck. He could jump in, zap people, jump out. Resolves his weaknesses as a hero, as Zeus already has all the damage you'll ever need. You really don't need to build anything like an Aghanim Scepter or a Dagon on him. So long as you can solve for his mana issues, he's able to output enough damage just by being alive, just by throwing out spells. Throws out that Thunder God's Wrath. Looks like Gats might actually go down to the Weaver Beetle. No, he's fine. Chooses to back away. Ancient Apparition unable to fly out to capitalize on that, and Wrath of Nature not thrown at the same time. Liger goes a bit too far forward, and he's going to go down to that Crypt Swarm. Excellent play there. Bit of an overcommitment. Weaver called out. Flash is silenced, so he's unable to move out anywhere. If he's seen, he can get hit. If the arrow's up, jukes into the trees. I don't think, no, they can see him. Arrow flies out, is tanked by the tree, and looks like he's going to mosey on his way out of there. Zeus is hanging out over the trees behind the tower, so they can't see him. Means that he's in range to jump in with that blink to throw out a lightning bolt if they need him for that damage. Otherwise, he's fine. With a lack of flying vision over on the Radiant side, they won't be able to see him. Gats in there getting a bit more farm done. We'll see what item he chooses to go for next. Ideally, he'd want to go for Dumbledore caught a bit of a position there. There's 3 heroes on the dire side hanging out near him. Weaver forced to throw out that time lapse a little bit too early. Yoshi throws out the Impale. Just gets Dumbledore. He does have his ult up. Exorcism thrown out. King Killer yulls himself up into the air, doing a huge amount of damage. Cold Feet procs over on Gats, pushes him down. Snow is about to go down. Gets saved by the Impale flying out from the Nyx Assassin. Lightning Bolt flies out. Looks like Mirana's going to go down to the Weaver. Gats goes down as well. Doesn't skill the kill. Lion's ult thrown out by the stun. Weaver's fine. He's got enough gold for that Perseverance, for the Lincoln Span now, sorry. Wraith King's also picked up a Vladimir's offering, gives him a lot more armor. Good disjoint there by Snow. He throws out the ult, kills Lion. Very scrappy fight. Flash is going to go down there to a Crypt Swarm. Nope, just gets right click down. Dumbledore still has Reincarnate, so he doesn't care if he dies or not. He's just hanging out, saying, come at me, bro. I've got 2 lives. Goes down to the Wrath of Nature, a little bit embarrassing. Rage Fang out from Dumbledore, and looks like he's going to get back home free.
I'd say you're an embarrassment, faggot.
Picking up the Vladimir's offering on the Wraith King, especially with that aura, is fantastic. It's not only does it give you a huge amount of lifesteal, the extra armor and the mana regeneration it gives to the Wraith King in particular makes it very strong, as well as the fact that because they have a deathball push lineup where they want to take as many towers as possible, plus 5 armor on each of the creeps means that it has to take between 2 to 3 more shots before the tower can kill each creep off. Gives a lot more damage. Ancient Apparition's called out, eats an arrow to the face, followed by a few right clicks from Tommy with that haste rune. Good kill there, very aggressive carry player, likes to go balls deep, likes to run up and kill people, doesn't like sitting around farming too much. Farming their jungle. Run is doing an excellent job so far. She did opt to go for the treads instead of the phase boots. Not really too sure how I feel about this. The advantages of the treads is you can tread toggle while you throw out your spells, switch them to int as you throw out your arrows, switch them back to strength. to give you a bit of HP. Gives you a lot of attack damage as well, and with the attack speed coming out from the Yasha, followed by the mobility that you have from Leap, you don't essentially need face boots, but the added mobility and the right-click damage is nice. Usually for the offlane Mirana, you see something along the lines of the phase drums into something like a Maelstrom or a Yasha into a Manta style. Over in terms of EXP, the Radiant side have clawed their way back up with almost 5,000 EXP over on their end. In terms of gold, about over 5,000. Radiant team are in a dominating position on the map, and a lot of that can be attributed to the fact that they had that early mech pickup. It means they can stay alive in these long sustained fights, and with the fact that their carry has 2 lives, they could always just face tank all the damage coming out from the Dire side. Shadowblade has been picked up. We see the Zeus ult followed by the Wrath of Nature, hoping to get a kill there on the line, or maybe bring down low enough for the Ancient Apparition ult to bring him down. No, it looks like Gats is going to go down. A lot of damage coming out. King Killer is called out. He does have that Frost Armor on him, and with that Mirana ulti, he should be fine unless they drop Dust or Sentries. Dust is dropped by Yoshi, and yeah, he's going down. There's no way he's getting out of that one. Looks like he's going for that pipe. He's picked up that Hood of Defiance. That point booster was just for efficiency, which is fair enough. It does give you 250 HP and 150 mana. That's a lot of stats that it gives you for a very low cost. With that pipe pickup as well, especially against the Zeus, as well as the Ancient Apparition, really mitigates a lot of that damage. In terms of physical DPS, they don't have all too much right now, and that Vladimir's offering means that the +5 armor does help mitigate a lot of Weaver's damage. As Weaver doesn't have any real big damage items right now, looks like he'll most likely be going for that Desolator, as that gives him everything that he needs. It gives him the negative armor, synergizes with his Gemini attack, which synergizes with his Swarm. Gives him it's the most cost-efficient form of damage that you get right now, besides that crit. But against the low armor heroes of the Radiant side, he will most likely be aiming for that Desolator. Medallion of Courage is also an alternative pickup for the Weaver, especially if you're playing in the offlane position. You didn't get all too much gold. Yoshi gets called out there with the Hex, unable to initiate. And looks like the Dire side are wisely backing off. Weaver decides to minus the crit. Ooh, Yoshi turns around, activates that Vendetta, scouting around in case the Radiant side would decide to chase, so he could turn around, get that 2-3-man impale off, quickly burst on one of the heroes. Looks like he's going in, goes in wisely on the line, choosing to take him down before he throws initiation. Chain Frost is thrown out, Yoshi tanks it with the carry pass. Good bounces so far, 3 or 4 bounces, arrow flies out, doesn't hit anybody. Double D is tanking a lot of damage, but with that reincarnate, he's not too afraid. Throws out the stun over in the Ancient Apparition, looks like it's going down. With that Mana Burn, was unable to get that reincarnate off. Good play there by Yoshi, choosing to focus fire the Wraith King, making sure they didn't kill him before they drained all his mana. Really looking to regret that stun there. That Blink Dagger pickup on Zeus means that Wraith King is unable to ever get a stun off on him unless he's in point blank range, as it's got a very slow cast time, it's a very obvious animation. Snow seems to have pretty decent reflexes, and you'll be able to blink out of it every single time. So they need another setup stun for that on Snow before they could initiate on him. Doing very well so far at 10 for 2 to 7. Looks like they can choose to break high ground right now, especially with their carry down, especially with their big ults down. They do have the Finger of Death, they do have the Mirana ulti and the Exorcism, but the Chain Frost was as a crippling factor for the Dire side and can prove to be that turning point. If they do break high ground, this could be very interesting. We see over in the middle lane, King Killer decides to split push over in the mid lane. He has a TP scroll. Off cooldown in about 5 seconds. Dire side chooses wisely to back off, defend their own tower. King Killer's able to throw out those Crypt Swarms, clear out the wave, get a bit more gold. He has picked up that pipe now. And so with pipe and mech over on the Radiant side, they have a significant teamfight advantage. We see that Nyx Assassin finally has picked up that Blink Dagger. This can be huge as he can pop that carapace, blink in, throw out the stun, throw out the mana burn, use that Vendetta to get that last hit, and quickly burst down the line, kill him before he can throw out any of his spells, as that lockdown coming out from the line has proved to be a critical factor in these fights. It gives them that Hex over onto Zeus, ensures that he can get stunned by Double D, ensures that he can be brought down. That Mana Drain has proved to be a huge factor against that Weaver, as even though he has that Lincoln Sphere, Mana Drain can be used to immediately dispel it. Gats is looking to pick up that Force Staff. He's already picked up a few points over into that Frost Armor that will provide a lot more physical DPS resistance, especially against that Weaver, as that extra armor is nothing to sneeze at. Looks like the Radiant side's looking to group up.
Oh, that's not good for the Radiant.
Top lane taking a lot of harassment. We'll see if the Nature's Prophet decides to capitalize on that. TP in. Seem a bit unsure on what they're doing right now. Dire side's also clumping around. In terms of net worth, we see that the Wraith King's leading the way at about 13,700. We've got the Weaver, followed by that King Killer, and then the Nature's Prophet. King Killer's standing there, face tank in the tower. Vendetta's blown on him, but doesn't do all too much. Pipe has already been thrown out. Mech has been thrown out. Mirana ult's thrown out. Snow gets hit by the Wraith Blast, and with the Hex finally goes down. It feeds a lot of gold over to King Killer, and it looks like they could go high ground with this unless they get a buyback over from the Zeus. Without the huge amount of teamfight power that's coming out from him, Nature's Prophet decides to go for some Rat Dodos, pushing the top lane, will force a TP out from the Radiant side. Looks like Mirana's gone back to defend, as she's already at low HP. A lot of damage being put out there by DDY with the trees in front of him. Can take the damage. Not an awful lot Nature's Prophet can do to defend, so instead he decides to go on the offense. The best defense, after all, is a good offense. But with the entire Radiant side, apart from Mirana over in the top lane, Mirana's able to drive him off the Starstorm. She has to throw to the arrow in case he decides to hang around. And they're doing a lot of damage now over to the racks. Over to the tier 3, sorry, before they start beating on the racks. Dumbledore looks like he's going for that Soul Caress. Great pickup on the Wraith King, gives him everything he needs, that armor so he can withstand more damage, that attack speed, which he severely lacks, and the negative armor increases his damage. Runs up to DDY, gets a point blank stun, getting a few hits off. Impale misses, Silence is thrown out, only silences the Weaver. Turn around, just finish the racks, go back home. They might be overcommitting there on the Radiant side. There's only 4 of them at the moment. Gets hit by the Ice Blast, only hits the Lion. Chain Frost thrown out by Gats. Good bounces so far. Might actually be able to finish off the Nature's Prophet. Unlucky bounces. Bouncing off that creep before bouncing back onto him. Hype is just being popped, so Zeus's damage is highly mitigated. Dumbledore does have that ult up, and with pops the stick a bit too early. Start beating on the racks. Isn't an awful lot the Dire side can do to defend. Zeus ult's thrown out, does a lot of damage. That pipe saves Rafiki. Dumbledore comes back into the fight. He turns around. Hits Ancient Apparition once, then backs off. Weaver's in the back line. Forced to use that time lapse with the threat of the Lion Hex. King Killer's almost out of mana. Forced to back off. Bit unfortunate. Looks like that catapult is going to kill the range creep. Arrow thrown out by the Mirana kills a creep, so she gets 50 gold for her trouble. Looks like she's going for that Desolator. Great pickup, especially in light of the Wraith King going for that Soul Caress, that negative armor, as well as the fact that they have the Death Prophet as a spirits do physical DPS. The less armor they have, the more damage she does. Great synergy between those two items, as it's negative 11 armor on buildings as well as on heroes. If they had the Shadow King as well, they'd be having a field day. Looks like Death Prophet's got about enough gold to finish her Bloodstone, so she's picked it up. 8 charges on that so far. One of the advantages, I guess, of having a Bloodstone this late in the game is the fact that if you do happen to die, you can save that buyback, you'll be able to respawn fast enough. In rare situations, you could even use that sacrifice ability to keep your teammates alive. Ancient Apparitions ults haven't really been hitting all of them as a group so far. It's been hitting 2 or 3 people, but usually non-essential targets like that Lion, like the Lich. Nothing too important so far. They haven't been able to hit King Killer yet with that, especially with that Yule Scepter and that high mobility. He's usually able to evade them. Yoshi pops the Vendetta. Smoke Gang coming in over on Tommy. Dumbledore's hanging around. He does have Reincarnate up, but with that mana burn from Yoshi, gets hit. Looks like Nature's Prophet's coming in. He will be going down. And with that Reincarnate, King Killer turns around immediately, gets a 4-man silence off, Exorcism's dropped. That crippling slow from the Reincarnate means that Yoshi's going to go down. Thunder God's Wrath is thrown out, but absorbed mostly by the pipe. Chain Frost only catches Snow, but Snow's going down. No chance for him to blink out. Flash is called out. With that silence, he gets fingered down by the Lion. Bit of cheeky revenge there for all the times we would pick him off in the back line. Looks like could potentially be game for Blink right now. The Exorcism's still up. They could take the middle lane. They could take the bot racks. And with 2 racks down, there's no way they could really turn this around. Exorcism's about to wear off. But with that Desolator up, that looks like a middle rack's going down.
Dire's middle tower now belongs to the Aegis.
Over in terms of EXP, we've got over 5,000 EXP in favor of the Radiant side. In terms of gold, we've got over 5,000. This is increasing furthermore, especially with those rack skills. With 2 lanes of racks down, not looking good for Team Blink. Excellent play so far from the Radiant team. They've executed that strategy flawlessly. They've implemented that Deathball. They've picked up their core items such as the mech, such as the Yule Scepter on the Death Prophet. They've used it really to the height of their advantage and make sure that to minimize the disadvantages of their strategy, even though they don't have that roaming power from that Lich pickup. They made it work by getting him a lot of farm, making sure he can pick up that mech, make sure that in all those fights he could drop off that critical Chain Frost, which has been completely decimating these fights. And the Wraith King pickup, they made good use of it, throws out a blind arrow, doesn't hit anything. Snow blinks out, dodges the stun, gets hit by the Mirana, misses the silence. Dumbledore's hanging out front, he's got Reincarnate, he really doesn't care. Mirana leaps in for the kill, gets it on the Ancient Apparition. Great play by King Killer, he's really been dominating the game so far, controlling the tempo, forcing the enemy team to react to him. He's been pushing down those towers, ensuring that he's able to maximize the amount of teamfight presence he has. hanging around. Looks like a bit of potential fountain farming might be going on. Picks up a Dagon. Now we know the game really is over unless they decide to start throwing. They keep in mind the dire side still do have that tier 2 up, so they're unable to go for the Mega Rex. Looks like they're just going to go for tier 4 and end the game. Snow calls GG. And that looks like game. Excellent game from both sides. Looks like the critical factor on the dire side was the fact that they were unable to get that mech up on time. Really crippled them those early fights. That split push they had really didn't work out too well against the deathball. The slow start that Nature's Prophet had didn't really help him out too much. He wasn't really able to get all too much done. He did go for a few tower snipes, and he did manage to pressure the top lane, drawing out that TP from the Mirana. But she was pretty low HP. She would have been forced to back off anyway. The combination coming up from Team Blink with the Wrath of God and the Wrath of Nature really showed a lot of promise, especially with that Ancient Apparition. But the fact that he was able to get a delayed level 6, delayed level 7 meant that they weren't able to execute it properly. I don't think there was a case where they landed that combo perfectly with the Ice Blast followed by the Wrath of God followed by the Wrath of Nature. But all in all, it was a pretty entertaining game, showing a lot of cool strategy coming out from the dire side, especially with that Zeus pickup, making it work with the Nature's Prophet, and especially with the Wraith King and the Death Prophet pickup, going for that early game, early aggression, early tower push kind of build. And that looks like that's the end of the first game. I won't be able to cast the second or third game, however, unfortunately, but that'll be it for now. I'll be looking to cast a few games tomorrow night, so if anyone is scrimming, please be sure to drop me a message ahead of time, preferably an hour or two in advance. I'll see what I can do. Alright, this is 49 signing off.